News 1. Ruth Buzzi, pioneering comedian and icon of American television, dies at 88. July 24, 1936, May 1st, 2025. Ruth Buzzi, the Emmy-nominated comedian and actress whose unforgettable performances on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In and other landmark television programs made her a beloved figure in American entertainment, died on May 1st, 2025. She was 88. Her death was due to complications from a stroke and Alzheimer's disease, according to her family. She had been in hospice care at her home in Stephenville, Texas. For more than 5 decades, Ruth Buzzi brought laughter to generations of viewers with her impeccable timing, expressive face, and unique ability to blend satire with slapstick. Though she worked across genres and age groups, from adult comedy to children's programming, her influence was felt most profoundly on television, where she became a cultural icon. Early life and education. Ruth Ann Buzzi was born on July 24, 1936, in Westerly, Rhode Island, and raised in the small village of Wequetequock, Connecticut. Her father, Angelo Peter Buzzi, was a stone sculptor who ran a monument business, and Ruth often cited him as a quiet inspiration for her work ethic and creativity. From an early age, she demonstrated a natural flair for performance. After high school, she enrolled at the Pasadena Playhouse in California, a prestigious training ground for actors. There, she studied alongside future greats such as Dustin Hoffman and Gene Hackman. She graduated with honors in 1957 and quickly transitioned into professional work. Breaking into entertainment. Buzzi's career began in earnest with a variety of stage roles and off-Broadway revues, many of which showcased her comedic chops. Her early years in New York City were filled with collaborations with up-and-coming performers, including Barbra Streisand, Joan Rivers, and Dom DeLuise. Her big television break came with The Gary Moore Show in 1964, where she performed in sketch segments that displayed her talent for creating quirky, memorable characters. She later appeared on The Steve Allen Comedy Hour, where her performances drew the attention of producers for Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In the Show that would define her career. Stardom on Laugh-In. Buzzi was the only female cast member to appear in every episode of Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, NBC's wildly popular and irreverent sketch comedy series that aired from 1968 to 1973. The program, known for its quick-cut editing and countercultural edge, launched the careers of many stars, but Buzzi stood out for her creation of the unforgettable Gladys Ormsby. Clad in a hairnet, orthopedic shoes, and an expression of eternal disapproval, Gladys was a spinster character who, when approached by lecherous men, most famously Arte Johnson's dirty old man Tyrone, would clobber them with her handbag. The sketches, while outrageous, resonated deeply with audiences, turning a quiet, underestimated woman into a comedic avenger. The character became a cultural touchstone. Buzzi received 5 Emmy nominations and won a Golden Globe Award for her work on Laugh-In. She reprised the role in countless television appearances, including Dean Martin's celebrity roasts and other variety specials. Beyond the Laughs. A career of range. Though best known for comedy, Buzzi's talents extended far beyond Laugh-In. She appeared on dozens of television shows over the years, including The Dean Martin Show, The Carol Burnett Show, That Girl, and Donnie and Marie. Her sharp wit and physical humor made her a favorite guest star and sketch performer. Buzzi was also a beloved figure in children's entertainment. She lent her voice to animated series like The Berenstain Bears, Pound Puppies, and The Smurfs, and appeared regularly on Sesame Street and in Sid and Marty Krofft's The Lost Saucer. Her ability to connect with young audiences was matched only by her versatility as a performer. In film, Buzzi appeared in Disney's The Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again, Freaky Friday, 1976, and Choo Choo and the Philly Flash, 1981. often in supporting roles that capitalized on her comedic timing and expressive features. She even made a brief foray into country music, recording the single You Oughta Hear the Song in 1977, which charted modestly and demonstrated yet another dimension of her creative range. Life off stage. Despite her fame, Buzzi was known for her humility and warmth. In 1978, she married actor and writer Kent Perkins. The couple eventually settled on a ranch in Stephenville, Texas, where they raised animals and supported local charities and the arts. She remained active in her later years, making occasional appearances on television and engaging with fans online. Her sharp humor was evident even in her final public comments, often posted to social media, with the same tongue-in-cheek charm that made her famous. She was deeply involved in philanthropy and was a lifelong supporter of animal welfare organizations, literacy programs, and community theater. Legacy. Ruth Buzzi's contributions to American comedy are enduring. She was among the first women to break through in the male-dominated world of sketch and variety television, not by conforming to expectations, but by creating characters who were fiercely odd, joyfully eccentric, and unapologetically themselves. She showed generations of viewers and aspiring comedians that women could be more than glamorous sidekicks or laugh-track bait. They could be the punchline and the powerhouse. She was a master of both subtle wit and slapstick absurdity, and her work continues to influence comics and actors across genres. In 1971, she was inducted into the Rhode Island Heritage Hall of Fame, and in 2012, she was honored by the Rhode Island Comedy Hall of Fame. Her career was celebrated not only for its longevity, but for the sheer originality and fearlessness of her characters. Ruth Buzzi is survived by her husband, Kent Perkins, and a vast community of fans and fellow performers who were shaped by her talent and generosity. In her own words, "I never worried about being glamorous. I just wanted to be funny." Ruth Buzzi. And funny she was, brilliantly, uniquely, and eternally. News 2. Sara Luzita, 1922-2025, A Life of Grace, Rhythm, and Resilience. Sara Luzita, born Sara Jacobs in 1922 and later known as Sara Lemkow, was an internationally acclaimed dancer whose vibrant career spanned ballet, Spanish dance, stage, film, and television. Her elegance, stamina, and versatility left a mark on 20th-century dance history, even as she remained a modest, private woman outside of the spotlight. She passed away on February 14, 2025, at the age of 102. This is the story of a woman whose passion for dance endured for over a century, a career that was as disciplined as it was passionate, as adventurous as it was artistically devoted. Early life, a budding star in wartime Britain. Sara Jacobs was born on August 11, 1922, in Hanley, Staffordshire, England. Her upbringing in the coastal town of Hove, Sussex, was shaped by a family of modest means. Her father, Leonard Jacobs, was a racing tipster, and her mother, Bessie, played a vital role in nurturing Sara's love of dance. From an early age, Sara showed a flair for performance. As a child, she danced on Brighton Pier in locally organized events. Her mother often stayed up into the early hours sewing sequined costumes for these performances, an act of love and encouragement that became symbolic of Sara's early struggle for artistic expression. By the age of 14, Sara had left her convent school to study dance full-time in London. She trained under Phyllis Bedells, a founder of the Royal Academy of Dance, and later with Elsa Brunelleschi, a revered teacher of Spanish dance. It was Brunelleschi who would help Sara define her future and reshape her identity, encouraging her to take on the stage name Sara Luzita, a nod to her Sephardic Jewish roots and the vibrant Spanish dance tradition she would come to embody. Rise to prominence. The War Years and Ballet Rambert. Rise to prominence. The War Years and Ballet Rambert. Sara Luzita's professional career took shape during the turbulence of World War II. In 1940, she was invited to join Keith Lester's Arts Theatre Ballet in London. With the war disrupting the London arts scene, many performances took place under challenging conditions, but Luzita's commitment never wavered. In the mid-1940s, she joined Marie Rambert's Ballet Rambert, one of the leading ballet companies in Britain at the time. Under the strict guidance of Rambert, she refined her ballet technique while continuing to develop her unique talents in Spanish dance. Touring war-ravaged Europe, she danced for both civilian and military audiences in makeshift stages, factories, and troupe halls. The demanding schedule included performances in Italy, Austria, and across Britain, including for munitions workers. Her skill and charisma caught the attention of dance greats. She was invited to join the Royal Ballet by Ninette de Valois, but Luzita declined, choosing to remain committed to her path in contemporary and Spanish dance. Though she later expressed some regret over the decision, her dedication to her artistic independence became a defining feature of her identity. Beyond ballet, a versatile career in stage and screen. By the late 1940s, Sara Luzita's reputation extended beyond the traditional dance world. She performed in theatrical revues and cabarets across Britain and Europe, often blending elements of flamenco, classical ballet, and character dance into mesmerizing solo acts. One of her most memorable international assignments was Ballet Rambert's groundbreaking tour of Australia and New Zealand in 1947-48. The ensemble played to large audiences, helping to cement Luzita's international reputation as both a dancer and a cultural ambassador of British modern dance. Her striking stage presence and camera-friendly appearance soon led to opportunities in film. She appeared in several movies, including Moulin Rouge, 1952, directed by John Huston, and starring José Ferrer and Zsa Zsa Gabor. In this film, Luzita performed a flamboyant can-can in a yellow dress, captivating audiences with her infectious energy and impeccable timing. She also featured in Oh, Rosalinda, 1955, a British musical film adaptation of Die Fledermaus, further showcasing her versatility as a dancer in both theatrical and cinematic forms. During this period, she appeared on British television, bringing Spanish dance to new audiences, and performed at events hosted by composer Benjamin Britten at the Aldeburgh Festival, an elite platform where her expressiveness and musicality were especially valued. A personal and professional partnership. Tuta Lemkow. While dancing across Europe and working in film, Sara met Norwegian dancer and actor Tuta Lemkow. The pair shared not just the stage, but a profound artistic sensibility, and eventually married in 1954. Together, they raised two daughters, Rachel and Rebecca, and collaborated on various projects. Lemkow, known for his roles in Fiddler on the Roof and Doctor Who, often appeared alongside Sara in stage and television work, and together they formed a memorable partnership in the post-war European arts scene. They also performed for cultural festivals and television specials, often exploring narratives through movement. Their marriage brought both artistic synergy and domestic challenge. Like many artists of their time, they faced the difficulty of balancing family life with the demands of travel, rehearsal, and performance. By the 1970s, the couple had amicably divorced, though they remained connected through their children and mutual respect for each other's work. Life after the stage, antiques, family, and legacy. After retiring from full-time dancing, Sara Luzita embarked on a new chapter. She and Tute opened an antiques business in North London, a career that allowed her to apply the same attention to detail, aesthetics, and storytelling that had defined her life on stage. Eventually, she began working independently, often in partnership with her daughter Rachel, continuing the family legacy of artistry and refinement. Her interest in antiques was not simply a hobby, It was an extension of her ability to preserve beauty and cultural history, much like she had done through dance. Even after she stopped performing, Luzita remained physically active and mentally agile. Into her 90s and beyond, she played castanets, told stories of wartime performances, and engaged with younger generations of dancers and artists. Her hands may have aged, but her rhythm never faltered. In her later years, she lived in Suffolk and eventually in Ely, Cambridgeshire, to be closer to family. Friends and family remember her as witty, intellectually curious, and deeply proud of her Jewish heritage. She remained independent well into her 100s and celebrated her centennial birthday in 2022 with family and admirers, a rare occasion for someone whose life had stretched across every major cultural moment of the 20th century. Enduring impact, a legacy beyond the spotlight. Sara Luzita's contribution to the arts was not one of mass fame or red carpets, but of quiet innovation, cultural bridge building, and tireless dedication to her craft. She helped popularize Spanish dance in Britain, brought ballet to war-torn audiences, and inspired young dancers to follow their own path, even if it meant walking away from more traditional institutions. She belonged to a generation of dancers who built modern dance culture in Europe from the ashes of world conflict. And she did it not with fame or fortune in mind, but with devotion, discipline, and love. Her death at 102 marks the passing of one of the last surviving links to Britain's wartime art scene and mid-century dance revolution. But her influence continues through her recordings, photos, and the memories of all those she mentored, performed with, or inspired. She is survived by her daughters Rachel and Rebecca, a stepson Louis, and her granddaughter Hannah. In her own words, as remembered by her daughter, "My mother didn't chase stardom. She chased perfection, rhythm, expression. She lived her life like a dance controlled but alive, structured but deeply human." Conclusion. Sara Luzita's life was a dance that never lost tempo. From wartime ballet tours to film sets and family homes, she moved through the decades with grace, wit, and courage. In every performance, she offered a glimpse of what art could be when pursued with integrity and soul. Her castanets may now be silent, but the rhythm she gave the world still echoes. News 3. Jim Smith, 1954-2025, a maverick of modern animation. Jim Smith, born James Carl Job on October 8, 1954, in Lubbock, Texas, was an American animator, illustrator, musician, and one of the boldest voices in the renaissance of American animation. Best known as a co-founder of Spumco, Smith helped bring to life some of the most influential and iconoclastic animated shows of the 1990s and early 2000s, including The Ren and Stimpy Show, Samurai Jack, and The X's. Smith passed away on May 2, 2025, at the age of 70, leaving behind a legacy that forever changed the way animation could be perceived. Raw, experimental, adult, yet artistically sophisticated. Early life and artistic roots. Raised in Lubbock, Texas, Smith grew up surrounded by classic cartoons, comic books, and Western culture. From an early age, he was captivated by the expressive line work of artists like Jack Kirby, Frank Frazetta, and Chuck Jones. Their influence would eventually permeate his own drawing style, one that blended dynamic anatomy, exaggerated emotion, and gleeful grotesquerie. After high school, Smith pursued formal studies in art, although much of his style was self-taught and honed through his relentless passion for illustration, sketching, and character development. Breaking into animation, Ralph Bakshi, and beyond. Smith began his career in the animation industry in the 1980s, during a period of stagnation in mainstream cartoon production. He cut his teeth working with Ralph Bakshi, the controversial underground animation director known for Fritz the Cat and American Pop. This early exposure to adult animation themes and guerrilla-style production methods profoundly shaped Smith's sensibilities. In Bakshi's studio, Smith met fellow animators John Kricfalusi, Bob Camp, and Lynn Naylor creatives, with whom he would soon collaborate to launch one of the most influential indie animation studios of all time, Spoomcho. The birth of Spoomcho and the Ren and Stimpy Show. Founded in the late 1980s, Spoomcho was created by artists frustrated with the constraints of the traditional animation industry. They aimed to make cartoons with greater visual freedom, less corporate interference, and more personality. Their first major success came in 1991 with Nickelodeon's launch of the Ren and Stimpy Show, a surreal, grotesque, and groundbreaking series that defined a new wave of animation for both kids and adults. Smith served as co-creator and co-designer, storyboard and layout artist, background painter, character designer, musician. He played guitar on the show's theme and other tracks under the punk pseudonym Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll. His distinct drawing style gave Ren and Stimpy their manic energy and bizarre appeal. His mastery of anatomy and slapstick timing added layers of humor and discomfort that became the show's signature. Style and influence. Jim Smith's work was known for its expressive line quality. Bold, alive, often grotesquely exaggerated. Deep anatomical knowledge, making even distorted characters feel physically believable. Attention to detail in facial expressions, dynamic poses, and backgrounds. Love of funny, ugly art, embracing the weird, uncomfortable, and absurd. He was heavily inspired by 1940s cartoons, Tex Avery, and Bob Clampett. Smith's drawings were never generic. Every line served an emotional or comedic purpose. Post-Ren and Stimpy career, following internal disputes at Spoomcho, and the firing of Kricfalusi from Ren and Stimpy, Smith continued working with him and others on new projects. Some of his major contributions after Ren and Stimpy include The Ripping Friends 2001-2002, a hyper-masculine, absurd superhero parody cartoon that showcased Smith's love for exaggerated anatomy and satire. He worked as a designer and contributed to its zany humor and visual tone. The X's, 2005-2006, a Nickelodeon animated series about a family of spies. Smith was involved in character design and helped push the angular, modernist aesthetic of the show. Samurai Jack, 2000s. Smith contributed as a layout artist and background designer on Genndy Tartakovsky's Samurai Jack, where his understanding of dynamic environments and composition complemented the show's minimalist style. Adult Party Cartoon, 2003. A controversial revival of Ren and Stimpy for Spike TV aimed at adults. Smith contributed art, though the series was divisive and short-lived. Music, comics, and independent projects. Outside animation, Smith was also a passionate musician and illustrator. Under his punk alter ego, Jelly Roll, he played guitar in punk and psychobilly bands, occasionally contributing music to animated projects. He was also a comic book artist, contributing to Spoomcho Comic Book Marvel, comic shorts published by Dark Horse. His blog and website often featured sketches, life drawing, and behind-the-scenes artwork, which became a treasure trove for aspiring animators seeking inspiration. Later years and continued legacy. Even in the 2010s and 2020s, Smith never retired from creativity. He continued consulting on animation projects, mentoring young artists, and sharing artwork on platforms like Tumblr and Blogger. His contributions to shows like Over the Garden Wall, The Looney Tunes Show, various independent short films, showed his enduring relevance and ability to adapt to evolving animation technologies. Death and Tributes, 2025. Jim Smith died on May 2, 2025, at the age of 70. Though the cause of death was not publicly disclosed, his passing sparked widespread tributes from animators, voice actors, and fans who hailed him as one of the great visual stylists in animation history. Artists like Genndy Tartakovsky, Craig McCracken, and Pendleton Ward cited his work as deeply influential. Many shared their favorite grotesque Ren and Stimpy stills or anatomical sketches he had posted over the years. His death marked the end of an era, the passing of a genuine craftsman, cartoonist, and rebel who never softened his style to fit in. Legacy. Jim Smith's legacy is enormous. As a co-founder of Spuumshu, he helped bring underground, artist-driven animation into the mainstream. His art inspired not only animators, but comic artists, designers, and musicians. Shows like SpongeBob SquarePants, Adventure Time, Invader Zim, and Rick and Morty owe a stylistic debt to his work. But Smith was never in it for fame. His goal was to make funny drawings that move, cartoons that felt alive, dangerous, and personal. Selected works and credits. The Ren and Stimpy Show, 1991, Degs. The Ripping Friends, 2001-2002. The X's, 2005-2006. Samurai Jack, 2000s. Tiny Toon Adventures, layout artist. The Looney Tunes Show, Adult Party Cartoon, 2003. Spuumshu Comic Book, Marvel. Die Screaming Lederhosens, Band. Conclusion. Jim Smith was not just an animator, he was a draftsman, a rebel, a rock guitarist, and a purveyor of twisted humor and explosive line work. His influence on modern animation cannot be overstated. He gave cartooning its edge back. He reminded animators that funny and ugly could coexist beautifully, and that animation should never be dull, safe, or formulaic. I have tried to highlight some important issues on behalf of our channel. Please support me. I am ending today's video by inviting you to watch the next video. Goodbye.